I didn't know those agents were on your team. Ben Schreiber regards this as the best compliment he's received recently. It came at a conversation with a couple of agents in his market. So why is that a compliment? Because the model behind his real estate team, one of the top-ranked teams in the state of Kentucky, is all about the agent, not about him. They build their business their way, making marketing, branding, and even logo decisions for themselves. It's an example of what agent-centric actually looks like in practice, not just in theory. In this conversation, learn the 4 things Ben wants agents doing with their time and how he provides leverage for all the rest of the things that need to be done. How being a college athlete and coach helps him coach agents more effectively today. And the 3 pillars that provide the foundation for his agent-centric approach: culture, support, and wealth building. Get all that and much more with Ben Schreiber right here on Real Estate Team OS.
No matter where your business is today or where you want to take it, you'll get there faster and more profitably with an operating system. Welcome to Team OS, your guide to starting, growing, and optimizing a real estate team. Here's your host, Ethan Butte.
Ben, you lead one of the top-ranked teams in Kentucky per Real Trends Verified. You have a background in sports coaching, so we're definitely going to talk coaching and coaching philosophy. And you're an avid watcher and listener of the show via Spotify. Welcome to Real Estate Team OS.
Thank you, Ethan. Appreciate you having me. And I just kind of wanted to, before we start, give gratitude to you and all your previous guests and all your future guests. This is one of my favorite go-tos as far as listening and getting good ideas. So thank you for everything you do for the real estate community with this program. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It's a gift to be able to do it. I really, really enjoy it. It's a privilege to have people share openly. I look forward to our conversation. I mean, you and I have connected before, but I look forward to diving into more of these topics. But before I do, high level, what has been helpful to you? Is it hearing a diversity of voices? Is it hearing on a specific thing that you're facing? What's the benefit to you of paying a lot of attention to these?
I think it's everything. I mean, no one thing. I mean, I do believe, no one has monopoly on all the good ideas. And with that in mind, I think everybody, just like agents, right, always going to go agent-centric first, right? Agents need to be authentic. They need to, be who they are, their core values, what they believe in. And so you've had guests before that I listen to and I'm like, I don't necessarily believe with that. And then other ones are like, you know what? That's kind of along my same kind of core values and kind of like how I wanted to position this team. But even the ones I disagree, you hear from things from a different perspective. So always I think everybody brings value because that's their story. And, and I just kind of come back and dive in on either certain topics or certain referral partners and things. And it's just such a great resource of knowledge and the collaboration and sharing. I just think it's been a phenomenal platform. So thank you again for hosting it and putting it on. It's giving great value to the real estate community.
Thank you so much for that. You obviously know what's coming next, which is a must-have characteristic of a high-performing team. What comes to mind for you, Ben?
Agent-centric. I think it's that simple. And you've had so many great guests and so many different words and believe with a lot of them, but I think agent-centric is the most important. I'm very honored to be a part of the most agent-centric brokerage on the planet with EXP. And when I kind of had this vision, I also kind of wanted to create the most agent-centric team as well. I think when team leaders form their team or when brokers form their brokerages, because I do believe, a team is a mini brokerage in of itself, right? So they have a mindset at the beginning. Are they going to be team-centric or agent-centric or broker-centric? I believe it's a partnership, either with a team leader or a brokerage. And it usually comes down to 3 main things on why an agent joins that team or brokerage. Culture, and that's just not parties and happy hours. It's similar core values. Do we believe in similar things? Do we, treat people the same way in the right way? That has to be the alignment, from the very beginning. Support, but I also say support implementation, because a lot of brokerages or teams, they offer all of these tools and stuff, but if there's no implementation or no help to implement it, they kind of just go to waste. And then financial wealth building, and that's just not commissions or other financial opportunities, stock, rev share, which are all great, but it's really about helping agents build their business, and kind of sitting down and say, what are their goals and helping them reach those. And whatever that is, I think you got to meet them where the agents are instead of kind of being that team leader or broker. Hey, this is what you need to do. This is how many you need to sell. And I'll take it. I think it's the same thing when it comes to agents, right? If you would ask, hey, what's the most important characteristic of a high-performing agent? They're either client-centric or customer-centric. Client-centric, providing value, building relationships. Just, hey, when they meet someone, I'm going to offer this person like the highest level of personal and professional service, so I will get a future referral from them, right? It's about providing that value and building the relationship. But then there's other agents we know that are more customer. Hey, I'm going to make this much from them in 48 weeks. Just thinking of the commission dollar. Oh, it's this price point or this, and I might not want to spend my time here, but and I think that's more transactional focus. So I think client-centric, agent-centric, they go hand in hand as far as in this business that allows you to kind of get to the next level and provide that value and kind of continue to build on those relationships for both the agents on your team or the clients the agents serve as well.
I love the way that you combine those together. I also love where you closed with the agent, because that's where I was kind of when I was thinking about a team leader or a brokerage owner. It's easy for someone to listen to this and say, well, yeah, of course I'm agent-centric, or of course my agents are client-centric. But it really is, where is your focus first? Where is your priority? And I think if we're not intentional and conscious about it, then we wind up having I'm very interested most in my own business, my own success, what's happening for me. It's just, human nature at some level. So it really does take a conscious, intentional effort and probably reminders periodically to yourself, maybe through coaching or through, the culture that you've built around yourself to bring you back into that agent first mindset or that client first mindset.
100%. And I know we'll get to later as far as kind of, a critical decision point, but 100% agree with that for sure. Yes.
Well, let's lead up to that. We're going to peel into a lot of your philosophy that you've already shared in that thoughtful opening response, but walk us up really quickly. How'd you land in the real estate business?
Absolutely. So real quick story about me. So I was a tennis player in my former life. So I grew up in the Northern Kentucky, greater Cincinnati area. Was fortunate to play tennis at the University of Illinois. And there I always kind of thought I wanted to kind of either be a college tennis coach or an athletic director, maybe a sports agent or something there. And so after I got done playing, I was the assistant tennis coach for the College of William and Mary for a year. I enjoyed it, but I just didn't have the passion for tennis that I once did as an athlete. And I kind of got my real estate license in 2003 when I was 24. Originally got into it doing investment properties with my dad, which was a phenomenal bonding and learning experience going through that. And so kind of did that the first 2 years, and that's what I was thinking about doing as far as investment and things there. I was putting polyurethane on some woodwork in an old house we were restoring, and he was paying me like $8 or $10 an hour. My phone was blowing up from some other clients. I was like, hey, Dad, we need to talk about leverage. Okay, I'm getting this. I need, so I always had like a change of clothes, like jeans, dirty clothes, and then boom, try to put on a collared shirt or something. So then kind of my real estate sales career started kind of taking off. So I was a full-time agent for 10 years, lived that life, okay, and enjoyed it and really loved the, from the coaching, and my wife's a teacher as well. So just that helping and that service mindset as far as building the relationships with the clients. And then eventually, I talked to a previous person at a brokerage and I kind of said, hey, I enjoy coaching. I kind of like that. And then an opportunity came itself to manage. So I managed about an office of plus or minus, 90 to 100 agents. It fluctuated from there. Did that for eight years. So 03 got my agent license. 05 got my license in Ohio. 07 got my broker's license because I always wanted to have my own brokerage, or at least I thought I did. But in the meantime, hey, just kind of path took me for management, and then wonderful company, wonderful people, but I just didn't see myself there for next 20 years. And then kind of got my higher broker's license, just kind of have some more flexibility for the future. And then got turned on to EXP, got a little EXP insomnia, learning about it, thinking about all the different things, and think, okay, hey, I could do this, and do the team model with that as far as, instead of having my own brokerage, leverage the wonderful model and platform that EXP Realty is. So joined them just over 4 years ago, and it's been awesome. It's been great.
A few things I want to hit before we size up your team as it is today. One of those is coaching, like whether it's in the context of managing 90 to 100 agents inside another brokerage, or whether it's, building your own team in your own company. How has your sports coaching philosophy carried over into agent coaching? Is there for you, is there like an underlying thread that runs through coaching no matter the environment, or does it speak to coaching a little bit?
Very, very similar. So tennis, very individual sport, but there is a team component aspect of it as far as, how the college format is. And I always believed, and I use this with agents as far as being a solopreneur or kind of being part of a team. If you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. And I truly believe that. And I had that experience with my amazing team at Illinois. But a lot of those principles and focusing on the process and then knowing that the results will come if you worry about the habits and doing the right things. So the coaching in that regard, it aligns great. If tennis is so individual as well, so is real estate. So when I talk with agents, I want to meet them where they're at. Okay, they sit down, do a business plan. Do they want to sell 6 houses a year just for fun and kind of pay off some debt or have some fun? Great. Let's help you reach those goals. And then when we do that, okay, hey, here's what you want to do, or here's why you want to do it. And then we kind of break it down. Okay, hey, here's the how and here's how we can help. But if we got an agent, hey, they want to do 25, 30, 40 transactions a year, I've been there myself. We have the support system as well to help empower them. That coaching philosophy and mindset of that meeting that athlete at an individual level or meeting that real estate agent on an individual level is so key. Yes, we say, hey, we will meet and exceed the effort you put in. Kind of the similar struggle that we have in team management, but also from a broker management role is I can't make grown adults be self-motivated, can't make them more productive. I just try to provide the best environment for them to choose to reach their goals with however they want, and then the follow-up, ask them how much they want to be held accountable. And then some people are like, hey, I'm good, leave me alone. Others are like, hey, let's meet every week, let's do our one-on-ones, and then you kind of just really individualize, help the real estate business on a very individualized level with that.
Very good. Thank you for that. Brokerage versus team. Earlier in your career, you thought you wanted to maybe run your own brokerage, but you discovered EXP, decided to start a team brokered by EXP. Talk about the team versus brokerage dynamic for you.
When I learned about the EXP model, I just kind of realized, okay, hey, why? Why kind of be your own broker? I mean, think about all the changes in our industry the last year or two. I mean, the liability, the NAR changes, all of those things. There's so many things out there, and I'm very blessed and fortunate to be with EXP, actually on staff with the company as well as a broker in Kentucky. We have such amazing leadership that are so agent-centric to provide all these opportunities for agents. But at the end of the day, for what our cap is and all the systems, I did the math to reduplicate that from the technology and headache and just, all the resources. You can't beat it. So it's kind of basically, that's how I think why they're doing so great with kind of teams, because it allows that platform and then, allows the teams to run it, within their framework as well. So, once I kind of learned about that model and kind of use them as that leverage, I kind of realized, there's no need to have your own brokerage. The pros do not outweigh the cons whatsoever.
Before we dive into culture, support, and wealth building as the pillars of your agent-centric approach, I want to get into the weeds on some of that stuff.
Yeah.
I would love for you to size up Service Plus RE team as it is today. Market size, structure, culture, whatever you want to share, I would welcome.
So, we have that conversation of those three things with each agent, but right now we're about 25 agents, have a director of transactions, a marketing social media director as well, and 3 virtual assistants. Very blessed last couple of years. I think last year we did about 250 transactions, 70 million in volume. It's called Service Plus for a reason, multiple reasons as well, but it wasn't called the Ben Schreiber team. And once again, nothing against other teams that are named after their team leader for whatever else, but I wanted to make it about the agents on the team. It's not about me, so we do the marketing's in their name. The leads go to them. All the follow-up things that we do within the systems, the credit goes in their name in the MLS. So I just kind of enjoy kind of being this Wizard of Oz behind the scene of setting all these agents up and, allow them to be in a position of success. I saw so many teams over the years that just had so much turnover, and I forget what the stat is, the average lifespan of a team member is 2.5 years. I mean, it's exhausting, right? I mean, as far as poor that. So I kind of just wanted to make it about them and not about me. and kind of just provide all that help and those resources so they can, I can help them focus on their business, because it's not about me, it's about them. And I think a good coach, in that regards, has that same mindset for their players as well.
25 en route to 50, or 25 agents, and I really like what we're doing and how we're structured and what it feels like day to day? Like, where are you with regard to that?
Great question. So when I started this, it was never I need this many agents, I want to do this, right? It was always about, hey, let's provide value, let's build relationships with the agents and kind of create this team this way. So it has organically grown over the years. And when we're looking back as far as everybody on our team, I know it's not the ideal model, but it works for me. Like, I'm not out there proactively recruiting, okay? Because to me, it's not a numbers game, it's a quality of the relationships and the people. And a lot of the people on our team are here because they were referred from other agents who are currently here. Hey, we got something good over here, okay? It's different, okay? It's not the traditional team. And all of those three things, I believe, from culture, support implementation, and wealth building, we win, and it's just a matter of, so I always ask, hey, what's most important to you? And we can kind of fill that need. But where to go from here? I've always had goals. I'm always driven. I'm always, I give credit to my old college tennis coach about the word kaizen, continuous improvement, always looking at ways to get better with that. And I just recently went through some EOS training. It was kind of hard for me to kind of do a 10-year vision of putting an exact number on it. So, I did it, but whatever happens in the future, I never want to lose the personal relationship with the agents here, because I think that is what our value add truly is. So we'll see. Yes, always want to grow. And I do believe it's either, the abundance mindset or the scarcity mindset. When some people are like, oh, I don't want to, add more people, then our staff's going to be, spread too thin. But, we've added staff and help and support as the team has kind of grown. It's worked so far for the last, 3.5 years, whatever. So I'm going to keep doing what's working and focus on the culture and the people, and then we'll see where it goes from there. Now, with all that being said, yes, I'm very, very driven, okay, and very focused. So it's not just out there, oh, just see what happens. But once again, I believe, if you focus on the process and the habits and doing things the right way, treating people the right way, and doing the work, the results will take care of themselves in the future. And I had that same mindset as an athlete, and then also the same mindset now in business as well.
Yeah, I think if we look at any legendary coach in any sport, that's the way. You don't shoot out to become a legend. You shoot out to, take care of people, prepare them, win the games, win the seasons, and ultimately, win the career. One more quick observation before we dive into the components of agent-centricity. The way you described your staff, obviously you are coaching all of the agents right now. And I think we kind of got that too, as you were kind of talking about the value of the organization. A lot of it is in the way that you're engaging with these agents and the relationship you have with them. I would assume then that you are out of production, and we don't need to spend a ton of time here, but how did that go for you?
I still am production, but
Okay.
not like I was. It's more random because I'm not really focused on my business. Like I said, I'm fortunate to be on staff with EXP as a broker of the state, so that takes up the vast majority of my time. So my family makes fun of me as far as either talk about agent Ben or broker Ben, but I have different split personalities. But I have phenomenal staff local here that helps build a relationship with the agents while I'm busy there. So still in production, but it's more randomly of close previous clients or people I know in the community. But that's not my focus. My focus is obviously on my broker role, but also helping build the structure of the team and what can I do to kind of help provide either systems or better support, better relationship, and really always comes down to the implementation of everything we have to help them. I do got a lot going on, but I'm early riser, and my brain's always going. But I think I get a lot more done in a 8 to 10 hour day than a lot of other people do as well, just because as far as I can kind of narrow down and focus on the immediate task and priorities of what I need to get done.
Very good. Okay, agent-centric. Let's speak now to a team leader who has some momentum, but they're not super clear on exactly who they are, what they're about. Maybe they have a sense of value prop, but it may be, kind of traditional in terms of like, well, we do this, that, and the other thing, like the same kind of thing that any brokerage or team leader might say.
Yeah.
When did agent-centric occur to you? When did these three pillars emerge? Were they obvious to you and you're like, it's just a matter of kind of documenting them so that I could be really clear and have better conversations with my agents and potential agents? Because it seems very clear to me, like you're clear. These are the three components. How did that develop for you?
20 years ago, okay, when I first got my broker's license, as far as that, and obviously kind of, evolved over the time and, and being in different roles as an agent and coaching agents and brokering and management role. It just always kind of came down to those three things. I didn't want to be different just for the sake of being different, even though I kind of did, but, you got to be true to yourself and what you want, okay? My decision point, years ago when I had this vision in my head and kind of actually was able to make it a reality, a few years ago, was always, if I was an agent on a team or in a brokerage, what would I want? From those three things, right? Cultural support and wealth building. And no place is perfect, right? Everybody, no brokerage, no team is perfect by any means. But it always kind of came to that point as far as, okay, when I was forming this, as far as if I was an agent on this team, how would I want it? And then also daily, right? Or as I'm thinking of improving or making things better, I always ask myself, if I was an agent, and that's usually my guiding light on all my decisions, either if it's, support or adding staff or adding tech, which we know agents love change and adding new tech. So, when we switched from a previous CRM to Follow Up Boss last year, I always just kind of wanted to be like, okay, hey, what if I was an agent? What's best for them? Not best for me as the leader, because I could totally restructure things as far as my splits, and I don't call them splits. I call them team value propositions, because there's always that that difference of cost versus value, and I think provide the value, and I also believe in kind of being transparent. Okay, I think that's a critical thing. So everybody kind of knows, hey, here's what you need to be on this team value proposition. Hey, everybody has access to this. If you want leads, here are these expectations here. And that's probably about the only main team thing I do have as far as from team provided leads. But everything else is about the agent improving their sphere of influence and increasing their personal production there and branding them. But the best compliment I've received recently, I've been talking to a couple of agents. They're like, hey, what are you doing over here? I'm thinking about moving. And they said, who are some of the agents on your team? And I named them, and they said, I didn't know they were on your team. And I was like, yeah, have for about 3 years. And it was like the best. I use that phrase, like that Wizard of Oz, just the best compliment. Like, yeah, it's not about me. It's because my agents don't even have to use my logo, right? If they don't want to, like if they have their own logo, kind of a team within a team. But I know the value I provide from the support, the implementation, the tech, the tools, but also taking care of the busyness, right, and the non-revenue generating behavior, so they can focus on their business. And the myth of balance of personal and professional in this real estate world is hard, but there's some kind of harmony with it, right? Because it's the great thing as far as, yes, there's flexibility in this job, but sometimes you don't have control. So we talk about that with agents. Hey, listings, you have control. Buyers, you're on call, but we kind of help build their business and have those expectations. Trying to take away some of those non-productivity, activities from them. Big believer in the 80-20 rule. So when we do our individual coaching with our agents, it's, hey, I want you to focus on your 20%, writing contracts, spending time with clients and relationships, lead conversion, lead generating, and then personal and professional development. All of the other busy work, the 8%, hey, let's see how we can leverage that for you. So when you're not working, the business is still happening for you in the background, or you can take a little time out and take care of yourself, spend time with family and that. So that's kind of the culture and kind of the agent-centric model we wanted to start.
Super. And so I forget the title, but Director of Transactions, I think you said.
Yeah, we're not big in the title. That sounds right. Yes.
Okay. So that obviously is in service of the agents. The VAs, I assume, are tasked in support of taking away some of the busyness that isn't core to agent success. And then social media person, is that primarily for, like, do agents get support through that social media person, or is
100%.
that primarily for the brokerage itself?
No,
Sorry, for the
all,
team itself.
Oh, good. No, that's all for the agents. We personalize on every listing or every sale. How do they want their marketing? Is it social media? Is it direct mail? Is it a credit for future marketing? They choose on every one. Or how active they want to be on the different social media things, video, editing the video for them, creating, monthly events or, market update reports, all of those things customized to them and not me, not the team leader. And I think it's been a great addition for the agents to leverage time, but also help build their business the way they want to.
Yeah, that flexibility in how the marketing effort is provided is really, really interesting, because it's just like the rest of it, like meeting them where they are. What are your goals? What do you want to achieve? How can we support you doing that? Which brings me back to culture, support, and wealth building. I think support we've got a pretty good picture of. I'd love to touch on, we don't need to go super deep, but touch on the other two a little bit. And let's start with wealth building. I think what I hear there superficially, because I haven't heard you out on this topic yet, is, what are your goals? What are your short-term goals in terms of production? What are your long-term goals? And let me maybe help reverse engineer your interest in long-term wealth building. I would assume, though, that some of the folks that you're interacting with, you're maybe coaching them into developing a long-term wealth strategy. So talk about that a little bit. Like, what's your promise to someone thinking about joining you when it comes on to the wealth building topic? Like, what's the promise? What's the delivery?
So we have an agent success playbook that we kind of do and meet one-on-one. And once again, it's customized for everybody. So when we sit down and just, hey, let's talk about your why, as far as why you're doing this. And yes, and start with like, hey, 10 years from now, 3 years from now. And yes, a lot of agents, and I was the same way, like, I don't even know what I'm doing tomorrow if I can't think. I was like, okay, but it's like, okay, but, and it goes down to that why, right? As far, okay, what's driving you? Okay, and what's driving them on individualized. You can make money doing whatever in any industry, any business, right? But like, I believe, people do what they're good at, what they enjoy doing, okay, and where they're making an impact on other people or society. And and it usually comes down to that. Okay, I like people, I like helping, or it could be, hey, I'm doing this for a family or flexibility. So we just meet them where we're at on that, and then try to get a general framework of what they're looking for in the future, but then really break it down. Okay, hey, over the next year, what do you want to accomplish? I mean, in terms of units and or volume, because I think so much business planning I've seen over the years, it was always just straight numbers. Hey, here's this, and then, hey, and then break it down. And I have all the spreadsheets for that. If someone wants to go super nerdy with me, and I got a whole spreadsheet for that as far as, all right, hey, if you want this many closings, then, hey, this means this how many appointments you need to go on, how many calls, whatever else, the conversion rates, all of that stuff, how many people you need in your sphere, touching them, a couple dozen times a year, all of those things. But we meet with them where they're at as far as what they want to do, because not every agent wants to sell 30, 40, 50 houses. They're like, I'm good with 12. Okay. So anyway, so we meet them where they're at and then set up their next year and then be like, okay, hey, if we could wave our wand, paint it, brush out your next 12 months, what does your business look like? Oh, and that's probably the best conversation. Oh, I would love to have this marketing plan going. I would love to, start doing, I've always wanted to do this, but I never had time, and from a college athlete, I always hated the time excuse. Because we all have 24 hours, we just choose to prioritize it differently. We break down what their whole next 12 months looks like, marketing or tool implementation or coaching, and then we just start with 2 or 3, and then like, hey, let's just break it down. What's the most important thing in this next 90 days? Okay, next 3 months, and we just build on it from there. So they start to get some traction, start to get some momentum, start to get some confidence. And then their business just kind of takes off from there. And once again, it's all customized to them. If it's social media, or if it's more direct mail or video or whatever it is, of all the different ways. I got a sheet of like 50 lead generation ideas, and I give it to them. It's like, hey, what are you good at? What do you enjoy doing? And people are like, I'm not cold calling. I'm not knocking on doors. I'm not calling for sale owners. I'm like, you know what? Great. But what are you going to do? So we break it down, and everyone's different.
To all of them, but you don't have to say yes to all of them.
Right. Just let's pick out 5. Right. So really try to get back to, like I said, where they are individual business wise, not just money, but and you've been in this business for a while. It's a phenomenal connection point, because some people are like, okay, hey, all right, I want to be able to provide this for my kids, or I want to be able to retire, or hey, I want to pay for this vacation, I want to get out of debt, or whatever their financial motivation is, that's their driving thing. At the end of the day, when, in this, you need discipline, right? And to me, discipline is never, punishment or anything. It's just the ability to do what you're supposed to do when no one's watching. Mm-hmm. So if they have the discipline, then they'll be able to reach their goals from there. So we just personalize it and then kind of just go from there. And like I said, focus on the relationships, the transactions, and all that stuff will take care of themselves if their activities were right for the last 60, 90 days. It's not just snap of a button. Oh, great, I get a closing tomorrow. No, you got to put in the work.
Okay, culture. I hear so far in this conversation, it's a group of people who you've been able to attract rather than maybe go out and grab. They're probably attracted because it's organized around their strengths and interests, and you're going to support them building the business they want, the way they want to build it. We heard that in terms of social media. We heard it in terms of wealth building. Is that the foundation of how do you think about culture? Is it just if you bring people around in the right way and support them the right way, it just is a good place to be? Or is it something more?
When we were talking with agents, and as far as, like I said, focus on the quality and not just the quantity of the numbers. I hit culture from the very beginning, and I kind of say, hey, here's our core values, okay? And I had all this mapped out, 5 months before I, joined EXP as far as building this. But, it was as far as, because it was in my head for so long. But our core values, I'm in my room looking at them now, integrity, once again, hey, doing things the right way, okay? Realizing agents have a true fiduciary duty, right, to, in that whole client mindset, and I explain, hey, integrity, what this means. Service, if we provide a high level of service to our agents so they can focus on their relationships with themselves and also their clients, then that's what we're about. That's how but you got to provide that service. We'll provide it to you so you can provide it to them. Innovation, never getting stale, the kaizen philosophy, always kind of, not changing for the sake of changing, but it's something better, and constantly growing, evolving, because, this business is, always changing. And I'm in my mid 40s and, been licensed for 22, 23 years. And I caught myself the other day using the term back in my day, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm turning one of those. Back in my day, we didn't have emails on our phones. We had to meet people in writing, write it, triplicates, drive across town to drop off, contracts. But I use that because I say, okay, hey, this is always about relationships. There is something intimate about meeting face to face with people and going over a contract and what it means, or a listing agreement. And you build that rapport and you build that relationship, you build that trust. So, with the age of technology, it's wonderful. Saves time, can be a lot more efficient in the same amount of time. But I always say, don't be lazy. Don't just send something to somebody and just say, or sign it. But you need to be that professional consultant and service provider. So innovation there, collaboration, hey, none of us have a monopoly on all good ideas. Let's work together. Okay. Yes, we're all running our individual businesses, but when we have team meetings or little masterminds within our group, let's share. Okay. Hey, that's why I mentioned about your show. This is so great. Everybody shares. This is what I do. This works. This hasn't worked. And you pick and choose, and agents do it, right? What that works for them or doesn't work for them. But you just kind of get better by listening and learning from others and how it can be authentic with how you run your business. And then fun, so, you got to have fun. It's such a grind of a business and grind of an industry. And, and anything is, I have other friends that work in corporate world, and, nothing's perfect. Grass is never greener on the other side. It's what you make of it, but you just got to have that optimistic, positive mindset. So when we meet with people, I go over, hey, these are our core values. This is what we believe, and I have some other lines I use, but kind of cover all that. Hey, we want a positive and productive culture, no negativity. And that's usually how the conversations start off, after we, talk to each other about their business. But say, if we have a problem on any of these, we're not the right place. We're not the right place for you. And very upfront with that. And I think that's what's allowed us to kind of, like I said, grow organically and build. And, knock on wood, our retention, as far as for agents, and like I said, it's been growing over the time because they see the value in all three of those facets of those pillars that we provide.
Really good. You mentioned Kaizen again. For folks watching and listening, I'll have a link right down below. You need to know more about this approach and philosophy. If you don't already, you can Google it or ask ChatGPT, but I'll have a link down below as well. Also, Ben mentioned EOS and, this process of core values, this process of goal setting. A lot of that is kind of brought together and tied together in EOS. I have a great conversation with an EOS implementer who was a licensed agent. That's linked right down below as well. Ben, before I get to my...
by the way. Great episode.
Oh, good.
And even that basic as far as just that level 10, because I think as team leaders, it's kind of like a whack-a-mole. Hey, here's this problem. Hey, I got this idea, and I'm a schizophrenic when I'm part visionary, part integrator, but I think at heart, visionary entrepreneur. So, that EOS and, the L10 and all of those things, it's just teaching how to kind of build this as a business as it should be. And EXP had a great team leader academy that I was a part of as well. That was phenomenal, that provided that as a resource, but it allowed me to be a better managing broker and allowed me to be a better team leader, and then passing some of those same principles down on the agents to see how they can run their individual business with some of the similar, processes and systems and mindsets as well.
That's awesome. Before I get to my 3 pairs of closing questions, which I'm sure you're familiar with, if you've been watching and listening to the ends of these episodes.
Every episode, for sure.
Okay. So, but before we do, I would love to know, when you looked at the different core types of models, how do you view the team ecosystem and kind of figure out where you wanted to be in it approximately?
Yeah, no, good question. I analyzed everything before. Like I said, I was great company, great people. Like I said, just wasn't for me for the next 20 years with what I wanted to do. So I looked at everything, opened my own brokerage like we talked about, or joining other firms. And being in the business for so long, I knew what the different models were about and the things there of what was provided. And obviously, tons of great brokerages out there. But just as I learned about the EXP model and the platform and just the Agent-Centric, it just allowed me to kind of do what I want to do here better than anybody else. I haven't looked back and never plan on moving ever again, just because of the leadership involved, but with the direction. But when I say kind of a personality schizophrenic, I mean not only visionary and implementer like rocket fuel, but I'm a high SC when I'm analyzing. I look at things from 360, then 720, pros, cons. But once I make up my mind, it's go time, and kind of my D kicks in. So and I think it's similar, just like with clients. People buy houses when they're mentally, emotionally, and financially ready, right? All of those life events that are still happening, regardless of interest rates and those things. And that's the same way when I talk with agents. It's planting seeds to build those relationships, provide value. But agents move to teams or create teams or move to brokerages when they're mentally, emotionally, and financially ready. And the people who I culturally align with, I just want to be their plan B. Because I'm not a salesy person whatsoever, and I was the same approach with my clients, and same way I kind of teach. The salesy, you kind of get that customer mindset. But hey, here's your options. Here's the pros and cons, and you make the best decision for you. But at the end of the day, you just kind of do all that research, and it's always, just like when a buyer or buyer chooses a house, it's the gut feeling, right? It meets all their needs, most of their wants. Nothing's perfect, but I always use a line, with buyers, but same thing with agents. You're going to have to sacrifice something because nothing's perfect, but I don't want you to settle. And there's a big difference in that mindset with clients, but I think also with agents when they choose. So, so I did my due diligence and, found a home and absolutely love it.
Awesome. Ben, what is your very favorite team to root for besides your own real estate team, or what's the best team you've ever been a member of?
All right. I'm going to have to say it almost happened a couple years ago. A Cincinnati Bengals Super Bowl would be absolutely amazing. So hopefully it's coming up real soon. I'm also a huge Kentucky basketball fan. My son's going to be a freshman there this fall, but I've already experienced 3 of those. But I think a Cincinnati Bengals Super Bowl would be is my biggest number one team. And then the question as far as the best team I was part of, I would have to say my Illinois tennis experience from the late '90s to early 2000s. Still close with a lot of those guys, and then some chats and still see them. But we won. I should know this, but 8 to 10 Big Ten titles in a row. The team after I left in 2003 won the NCAA championship, went undefeated, and they had a player won singles, doubles, and won the team, which was pretty impressive, being from Champaign, Illinois, and, not being Georgia or, Stanford or USC at that time. But that was definitely my favorite team I was ever a part of, and phenomenal memories from that experience that helped guide me to a lot of the, core values and work ethic and perspective today.
Yeah, I can't imagine how many intangibles you adopted as a consequence of being in such a successful program. What is one of your most frivolous purchases, or what's a cheapskate habit you hold on to, even though you probably don't need to?
Cheapskate habit, I do have a couple of sweatshirts from the 90s that are just so comfortable. I usually don't wear them out or if I'm playing pickleball with friends, but I'm not a car guy or a clothes guy. My priority and my why is, I want to give the gift of debt-free to college tuition to my kids. So that's my drive. Like I said, I got a freshman going into college, a freshman going into high school. So that's what drives me, okay, to do all this stuff right now. I'll figure out my next why and motivation in eight years, as far as reset. But frivolous, I love golf. So golf is not a cheap habit, but it's either early in the morning before the phone and emails go off, just kind of either hey, go out there and kind of quiet time, or evenings or weekends and being with friends and putting the phone down for a couple hours, maybe having a couple drinks and just just talking and building relationships. I think so much in this technology world, there's so much, and I'm just as guilty, being on the phone and being constantly notified of all the different notifications in this business. So kind of being able to kind of put it down for a couple hours and spend some time with friends and, making memories and laughs is one of my favorite, probably the most frivolous thing I spend money on, but the return is there for sure.
Yeah, that's fun. Some frivolous purchases that we've heard about are in fact frivolous, but so many of them have like a clear ROI that's like, that was borderline. When you are investing time in learning, growing, and developing, what are you doing? Or when you're investing time in resting, relaxing, and recharging, what are you doing?
Learning, I'm not just saying this because you're here, but it's total true, is your show. And like I said, I want to give gratitude again. Like I said, I find myself going back and listening to other episodes. I may be ready to adopt this platform, whatever else, and hearing some of the great guests. And like I said, I've from the same things that I've used in my bit. I mean, you've had so many wonderful masterminds across and genius people in this business that why recreate the wheel? Listen to them, learn from them. So everything, like I said, from Follow Up Boss and other kind of tech tools, as far as there could be something here, and then I do my recon and research to see what's kind of best for my agents. So definitely that. As far as, like I said, your show and plug. I know I think you're having Andy Mulholland from 5 Simple Numbers. I've heard him on other mentions. And I use him as well. And so he's been amazing as far as that kind of other coach as well. Time relaxing, family. Like I said, it's like I said, freshman in college, freshman in high school, and my wife's off during the summers from teaching. So we all live crazy lives, but just those little times, put the phone down, family dinners, family events. We're going on a vacation this week, and so those memories of traveling with family and just being us is what really is kind of been my big why as well, and kind of drives me, and that's how I can kind of recharge, and it brings back the motivation of why I work so hard is for them.
Beautiful. That Andy Mulholland episode is linked up right down below as well. Ben, I'm going to add some other links, and you're going to tell me what those are. If someone wants to learn more about you, your business, or anything else that we covered, what would you like to point people to?
Email me, ben@serviceplusre.com, or we'll have some things on our website, serviceplusre.com. I don't even know how to really log into my social media, so don't DM me or anything there. So that's what our social media person is for, so more old school in that regards, where I'm never on really Facebook or anything there. So direct out, and then, I treat my email as my ever-growing to-do list. So that's the best way to reach out, and happy to have any conversations, love brainstorming, as far as, other people. So happy to help and give back to your show and this community, and come from a place of contribution any way I can.
Thank you so much, Ben. This has been a joy. I'm so glad that you're finding value in these conversations. I'm so glad we connected through the show. I want to convey to viewers and listeners, if you are at this point in this conversation, you've spent almost an hour with us. Reach out to Ben. He provided his email address. He didn't do it because he doesn't want to have a conversation with someone else who's looking to connect and learn and grow so that you can grow your businesses in the right way. Ben, thank you again so much for doing this, and I hope you have a great trip with your family.
Thank you. Sincere, appreciate all the everything you've done, and sincere gratitude for everything you do. So thank you as well. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for checking out this episode of Team OS. For email exclusive insights every week, sign up at realestateteamos.com.